Ladies and gentlemen, to you, the fellas out there, I come bearing gifts, I come bearing joy, I come bearing happy good wishes, and happy National Calendar Day, in terms of today being a lot of different things. Some things I can't even pronounce, but the big one, National Pancake Day. It's Fat Tuesday. I ended up seeing that that's a religious thing. I don't know, but it's National Pancake Day, Fat Tuesday. They seem like they're going hand in hand to an extent there. So yeah, go gorge yourself with some pancakes today. And look, if you got a gluten intolerance or something like that, they got you taken care of, right? They got you taken care of. IHOP's going to be hitting you with some free pancakes. I don't know. I'm just saying that. We're probably going to get a big rush of people running up in there, but it's probably not going to lead to anything but National Pancake Day. Enjoy it. Enjoy the National Calendar Days. Get yourself a little fun. Look at the National Calendar Days to start your day and say, hey, I could do this today, and actually it's warranted just by saying that it's a national calendar. Give me an excuse to go get some pancakes, or just give me something to celebrate. Give me something to do differently during these cold times, basically every single place in the country if you're not in sunny South Florida. And if you are out there, props to you, credit to you. You're in the right place these days for your mental state, for your tan, for your ability to go outside and not have to be bundled up cold as fuck. I hope you're having a lovely day today. We have a 6-game slate coming off of a slate yesterday where it prompted me to tweet, this NBA season got to go. Look, I don't actually mean that. I love the NBA. I like the hectic parts that's happening in the NBA because I'm actually somebody who stays up and updates the projections. I'm actually somebody who stays up and actually does changes based on this. But yesterday I tried to get myself a Chipotle burrito. It's literally a mile and a half from my motherfucking house. I ordered it ahead of time so I didn't have to stay in there for 2 extra minutes. I go try and get myself a Chipotle burrito. This whole process probably will take 8 to 10 minutes. And during that time, Joel Embiid gets scratched. So Joel Embiid gets scratched while I'm going to get my Chipotle burrito. It ends up taking like 15 minutes because they were backed up, whatever it might have been. And I get back and I'm like 3 minutes late for Joel Embiid just being scratched news. It's brutal. It's brutal, right? You can't go anywhere even 2 miles away from your house these days in the NBA. And normally it's pretty bad, but it's not that bad. And I usually take my laptop everywhere. Like I go to the bars at night. If I'm with my girlfriend or some friends in the area, I'll go to Top Golf hitting some golf balls. I'll go places and literally have my laptop. I'm that kid there with the laptop, but that's just me. That's my life, right? I got to update this stuff. This is business, baby. This is big business. You got to be there. You got to pay the cost to be the boss if they will. But this one, I was like, all right, we're going like 5 minutes away. I've updated all the shit all day tonight. What's going to change? I got this amount of time. No, of course. One of the biggest pieces of the motherfucking slate, Joel Embiid gets scratched like almost last minute. I think it was like 15 minutes before lock. That's what prompted the tweet out there. Of course, I still love the NBA, but that's what you had. You had a crazy motherfucking slate yesterday when people were winning contests with like 440 points, 445 points. I think won the big contest last night. Just absolutely insane. And we're back at it tonight on a 6-game slate that already has a lot of injury news, that already has a lot of guys ruled out, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube behind me. So as we get into it, hit that like, hit that subscribe, do all those things for your boy. I appreciate you all a ton in advance. And yeah, right now I got a nice little new webcam here. I don't know if I look different to everybody out there, but we got the Brio, the Logitech Brio. Was ripping my hair out for about 2 hours trying to get it figured out and all configured, if you will, last night. But it's looking good. It's feeling good. I hope it doesn't slow down my my live streams. I think some of the new gear that I usually get does, and then I got to bail on it. But we're going to be live at 4 p.m. East Coast time. So if you hit the subscribe and the notification bell, the big one, bang, you tap that little bell. It makes it look like it's ringing. It lets you know when we're going live. We'll be live tonight at 4 p.m. East Coast time, but we'll also be live tonight right around 7 p.m. East Coast time. And we're going to be doing a new show on Tuesday nights for Jock Market, specifically the Closing Bell, where I will be live taking your questions, and we'll just be talking about the market. It's something that's going to be really intriguing, so be sure you have those notifications on, and be sure you're just active. It's right after lock, so you get all your lineups in, and then we'll be able to have that show. So be sure to be checking that out. I appreciate you all in advance for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to the sponsor of our show, SuperDraft. We can talk about them a little bit more in a moment, but SuperDraft yet again continues to be the place to be getting your first dollar rooskies down. Thanks to the fact that in the DFS space, nobody is competing in terms of the overlay and the amount of money that's being left on the table in these contests each and every night right now, since they're not filling. So let's start off with this injury and status dashboard. In Boston, you have a questionable Daniel Tice, and you already have Bob Williams missing some games. We don't have an update on his status yet, but if he was to miss, Tristan Thompson takes a step up. You're going to have Jason Tatum playing even more minutes, probably down low with the 4, so just track that against a more difficult Denver team. I'm not too sure it makes anybody super appealing, but it would make Tristan Thompson probably shoot up the most there. And on the opposite side of that game, you have Denver here, which is going to be missing a lot of bodies today. Will Barton, he's out for personal reasons. Monty Morris is also questionable. They already have no Paul Millsap. He's been ruled out. Gary Harris, PJ Dozier. This is a lot of depth and guys that are in the rotation now. So you're going to see bumps for plenty of players now. You're going to see direct bumps for guys like JaMychal Green going to have to play some 4 minutes in place of a Paul Millsap. You're going to see direct bumps in minutes and in overall usage for guys like Michael Porter Jr., right? Obviously, Jokic continues to look good. You still have Jamal Murray underpriced, even though he hit that bottom price point in the 6K range. $7,200 is still pretty cheap for you, man. And now RJ Hampton's going to have to pick up more minutes if indeed a guy like Monty Morris does miss, because they're just down in this rotation right now. Bobo, I would assume, maybe you get one of those spot starts where Bobo plays like 14 minutes in a game, right? Because they're going to have to get some new bodies in the rotation because they're down a lot of bodies now, and you might even have more with Monty Morris. The Lakers price points, some of them changed. LeBron's didn't change, interestingly enough. I mean, with AD off the court, he's still just averaging just 1.48 fantasy points a minute this year, but that's, I think, a little bit skewed in some regards. But also, like, yeah, the price points coming up on some other players, mainly Kyle Kuzma up to 7K now, because Anthony Davis, with this Achilles, is going to be out until after the All-Star break. At least 2 to 3 weeks is what they're saying. The quote-unquote All-Star break, when there's really not any All-Star break these days. So Desmond Bane, you're going to be having him out today. And also, again, so more minutes for guys like Grayson Allen, more minutes for the guards out there. No Melton again. So Xavier Tillman can start to get into those, 22, 24, 25-minute range as well. In Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell is out with a leg injury today. No other news in Minnesota to be monitoring here. So he's 6,600. You have Malik Beasley at 73. Anthony Edwards is now, I would say, appropriately priced in that low 6K range. And then a lot of minutes off the bench are being split from guys like Josh Okogie, Jordan McLaughlin. So Malik Beasley's ceiling is there against the Lakers, I would say. You still have a 93 coming down $100, $9,300 Towns, whose minutes have gone from 31, 32 to 33. So it seems like he's completely fine in terms of how many minutes he can play as long as the game stays close here. We're still looking for that upside Towns game that he has the minutes right now. At 31 to 33 minutes, he can get his upside games. I mean, he's basically just going for 45, just missing out sometimes on double-doubles. A couple more assists probably going to come down. And, I mean, not playing with D'Angelo Russell can hurt your assist percentage, or at least just the conversions on your assist percentage, I should say. When you're replacing D'Angelo Russell, who's not the most efficient shooter, but when you're replacing him with guys like Josh Okogie and some other players who just aren't going to shoot as much, it could limit you in some areas on getting some more assists. So that big Towns game, I mean, it's coming, and it's going to come at will. He's a $10,000 player, still underpriced. SGA for OKC still remains out, and then you're going to be getting Theo Maledon also out there. So look, Hamidou Diallo, he had a bad game where he shot like, I think, below 20% the last time out, or right around 20%. That will not continue to happen, and now his price point is down a lot. You have Horford at 7K, but that's fair based on what he's doing from an assist percentage standpoint, and we can touch on that in a second. But all the other guards will see some bumps. Just see who starts here, right? If Roby ends up starting for tonight for whatever reason, well, then jump to Roby. Justin Jackson's been playing bigger minutes and starting as of late. He looks good. Kendrick Williams playing some bigger minutes off the bench, but he's still priced a little bit up there to the point where I'd rather just go right back to Justin Jackson. Lou Dort's priced up, but he's still playing 35 minutes plus a game, potentially 40 minutes. So really, we're going to have to see who the starters look like, but Diallo is going to remain the priority for me as his price point's coming down just based off solely inefficient shooting. It's not like he's not getting the minutes. It's not like he's not getting the shot attempts or the assist opportunities and the touches in a game. Right now, he's up there in all those categories for his team with SGA off the court. It's just the fact that now you're not going to be getting a nice shooting percentage out of him, which is clearly not something that's going to withstand, because Diallo so far on the season is shooting 55% true shooting percentage, 51% effective field goal rate. So when the guy goes out there and shoots 18% in the last game, that's clearly not likely to continue, right? Even the game before that, he's shooting 38%, and he still gets your 44 fantasy points. So he's massively underpriced. He took 16 shots in that game. He picked up 13 rebounds as a rebounding guard. He now has 11 or more rebounds in 3 out of his last 4 games. I mean, this is the spot that you want to be getting Hamidou Diallo when the price point is coming down. And also in that game, he only played 26 minutes. He got into a little bit of personal foul issues early on, but you're still getting the guy playing 37, 38, 41 minutes. He's one of the best plays on the slate at that price point. I know we jumped ahead a little bit there for the early interest, but that's just how good of a play he's looking like with no SGA and Maledon still. And before we finish up the last 2 guys in Rodney Hood and OG Anunoby, just want to let you know that today's sponsor, again, SuperDraft, mentioned them earlier. It is a multiplier format, meaning that today, if you were to play Damian Lillard, he has a 1.2x multiplier. So whatever points he scores, if he scores 40 points, you then multiply it by 1.2x to get his final score on SuperDraft. It's a very powerful thing, and it's a different format because it's not salary cap based. You can play whoever the motherfucking you want to play. Whoever you want. Whoever that motherfucker is you want to play, you can get all of them in your lineup. It's just a matter of understanding where the value is in that multiplier. And here's the bigger reason, right? It's a nice different type of game to play. It's really developed its own niche in the space with this multiplier format that a lot of people are enjoying. But the biggest thing is that if you are new to the channel, then you don't know this. But if you are here, you already know. Sal, you're broken record, Sal. Yeah, but it's the contests aren't filling. The contests aren't filling. The contests aren't filling. So what does that mean? It means that they're guaranteeing the prize pool. So if there's a contest that has 100 people in it, right? I'm just trying to use smaller numbers. There's more than that. But maybe there is one out there that has 100 people in it and only 73 people enter that. Those other 27 people, it's virtually like they're all taking zeros in their lineup because the company in SuperDraft is guaranteeing their prize pool, guaranteeing their buy-in. So they're basically putting the money in to fill those lineups. And it basically just means that they're going to be zeros in there, right? That's kind of the same logic there. Whereas on DraftKings, every lineup is basically filling, or every contest basically 100% or very close to it. So yes, you should be playing in the contest where when you're going to start it, you're basically only having to beat beat automatically you just beat 20% of the field, right? Automatically, you don't have to do anything except enter a lineup to beat 20% of the field. You're not going to get that edge anywhere. You automatically knocked one guy out of that 5-man just because you entered a lineup, right? That's as simple as what. Just because you entered a lineup. Imagine if DraftKings said, oh, you entered a lineup today, we're going to bump you 20 spots in the rankings in this 100-person contest. That's basically what SuperDraft is doing. So yes, if you have the ability to play in a state of yours, get in on SuperDraft. Promo code SAL, S-A-L, link down below in the description to just get over there and check it out. We'll get you a free money bonus up to $500. Rooskies, again, my name's Sal, S-A-L, let them know you came from me. I'm going to keep pounding on SuperDraft. We're going to keep promoting SuperDraft until the contests just start filling. And then after that, we're going to keep promoting them because I think it's a very appealing and upside game to be playing. That's different and a different thing to solve projection-wise and ownership-wise. It's still early on right now. That's the other thing. It's only been around for about a year and really only picked up over these last couple of months during the NFL season ending. So lots of upside on SuperDraft. Check it out. Link in the description below with that promo code. Lets them know that you came from me. In Portland, no Harry Giles, no Rodney Hood, just some depth pieces there. Anthony Simon sees a bump. Derrick Jones Jr. sees a bump. Some guys that honestly don't stand out as value. There's not too much extreme value. A lot of it is coming from OKC right now. Some of it's going to come from Denver as well with those bodies out. So not much there from Portland that I want to run to. And OG Anunoby doubtful today. And also Utah Watanabe. I think these guys might have been ruled out, but doubtful was the last status that I saw. He's going to be doubtful today. So same news is going to be there. Norman Powell plays some bigger minutes. Terrence Davis is involved in Stanley Johnson off the bench. So the biggest news today to be watching for is just basically what happens with Monty Morris, because that's another body. It seems underrated, but that's another body that will have to be losing out on. I mean, Morris, if he plays today, he's going to play 32 minutes. So that's another body that they're going to have to fill that time, which just makes everybody else, including an RJ Hampton, the rookie, look even more appealing. And then outside of that, just keeping up with the news like yesterday, right? The only status that we're waiting on is the questionable tag for the most part, right? The questionable tag on Daniel Tice as it lands right now outside of Monty Morris. Let's now get into the early interest. So we got 6 games on the slate. We're going to try and go through 12 teams, pick a guy or two from each of those teams and kind of just let you know what's going on there rotation-wise. So we can start off with Brooklyn, who we got to see last night. Kyrie Irving almost dropped a 60 burger. You had Mr. James Harden going out there and dropping a 70-plus burger. And it became, somebody asked me in the Discord last night, Sal, do you still like Kyrie over James Harden? And look, all day yesterday I was saying, point per dollar wise, I'll take the $9,000 Kyrie over the James Harden at $10,700, $1,700 difference. I like the value that's more on Kyrie and also what you get with that savings, right? You can do some other things in that price range. The narrative early on yesterday was pay up for all the guards, pay up for any of those guards up top that you want, your Mitchells, your Zach LaVines, all those guys, right? But, and this is a big old booty, once we got all the value, once every single thing in the world came true to us that Cedi Osman was going to be playing when there was nobody out there for that team anymore, that all the value on basically every other team started to pop off later in the day, then it became a points priority. Then it became who's the guy who can get me to 65 to 80 points more easily, and that's James Harden over Kyrie Irving. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. So yesterday, that's what you have to just keep in mind today. Right now, I like Kyrie Irving over James Harden. I have it ranked right now from Brooklyn, this team, and you had DeAndre Jordan not starting yesterday, but he still picked up 27 minutes overall coming off the bench. That's still at least encouraging to see he can get those minutes. So I would rank Brooklyn factoring in price points right now. Kyrie Irving at 9,100, then Harden, and then DeAndre Jordan. Brooklyn won by 11 yesterday, but the starters basically played the entire game. You had Jeff Green starting at the 5, and that was also against a team that there was no Rashawn Holmes, right, for Sacramento, and that's a smaller team in general. Now they have Hassan Whiteside, and he ended up playing bigger minutes, and that was another value piece that opened up that said, okay, we can now go and get Hassan Whiteside when there's no Rashawn Holmes out here. Hassan Whiteside off the bench only played 24 minutes, but he went absolutely off, right? He ended up scoring off the bench 26 real-life points, so another value piece that popped off late last night. So once you start getting all the value in the world and you can just play 3 studs in your lineups because there's that much, then yeah, play the 3 studs in your lineup. Play the guy who's basically a walking, he had a 61-point projection for me, Harden, a walking 60 burger median times, right, half the time. So if we get more value, it's nowhere near the value right now than we had last night. And last night's value wasn't even anywhere near that yesterday morning, right? That came out throughout the day. So right now, and Harden or Kyrie was still more than fine, ended up 6xing for you yesterday, more than that at $9,000 flat. So at 9,100, I'll be going back to Kyrie here. He ended up playing the entire first quarter, the entire third quarter. He only played 30.7 minutes in that game, picked up 3 personal fouls. Didn't seem like it hurt him all that much. The personal fouls were just more so the flow of the game. So playing that well, and I could even see him getting probably an extra 2 or 3 minutes in that game. He checked in pretty late in that fourth quarter because the Nets were on a 5-0 and then immediately started right after that a 14-6 run. So you're not going to take or put anybody in after that. He ended up playing only 3 minutes in the fourth quarter because of that run, and then he checked out with a minute left because of the blowout, or 47 seconds, I believe it was exactly. Yeah, 47 seconds. So yeah, he basically would have played like 3 or 4 more minutes. So don't look at the minutes and say, but the minutes were small. No, it was just the way that the game ended up flowing out, and he ended up getting you there, and he's kind of the reason why the blowout was there, and he lost that minute at the end, or he's part of that reason. So Kyrie Irving, James Harden, we talked about it yesterday with no Kevin Durant. He's out yet again. These are guys that, yeah, you're going to look at their what they're averaging James Harden with no Durant was averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Kyrie Irving was averaging 1.39 fantasy points per minute. Those are small samples that don't take into account everything. There's small samples where some of those games Kyrie was out, some of those games Harden was out, some of those games there was just other guys on the team at that point, like Taurean Prince and Karis LeVert, right? So they're definitely smaller samples. I would assume that James Harden with no Durant is going to start to average close to 1.5, 1.55, and Kyrie Irving is going to start to bump up a little bit above, or at least stabilize that 1.4 fantasy point per minute projection. So overall right now, Kyrie, Harden, and then DeAndre for me. Getting over to Denver next, I still like Jamal Murray at 7,200. I still like him. You're on a slate where they have so many bodies on their team out, right? They already have Will Barton. That's a strong rotation player, 28 to 30 plus minutes. They have no Paul Millsap. That's usually 20 to 24 minutes a game. Monty Morris might miss. Already no Gary Harris, right? There's just not that many bodies out there. And now a matchup against Boston, it's not the best matchup, but Marcus Smart is out, right? Marcus Smart is out. You're having a Kemba Walker who doesn't seem like the old Kemba Walker, at least definitely not on the defensive side of things. So it's not really that same scary matchup for Jamal Murray, who for as of late, Jamal Murray has been playing a lot better. And this is what we said. Jamal Murray, because of how great Jokic is playing, because of how much Jokic is doing from an assist percentage standpoint, when Michael Porter Jr. is out there as well, Jamal Murray is just having an awkward start to a season. There's a lot of things to be saying outside of his play, but it's just really he's not playing up to his standards yet, and that's going to change. Jamal Murray is just averaging 0.94 fantasy points a minute so far this season. He's sporting just an 18% usage rate. That's going to go up. His overall three-point shooting percentage, that's also going to go up, or at least you would imagine so that it would. And with Will Barton off the court, his 0.94 goes to 1 fantasy point per minute, right? And now you can start taking some guys off. If Monty Morris was to go off, that just stabilizes bigger minutes for him. Now you start to get him to play 35, 36. So I like that. Jokic is Jokic. Look, we have studs in this slate. We have LeBron without AD. We have Giannis, who's coming off of 3 games in a row of 64, 70, and 70 plus points. Jokic is just as stable, and now Jokic is going to go up against, at worst, Tristan Thompson today, and maybe Daniel Tice will be in, and that's not something that I'm too worried about. So the man who's averaging 49.5 fantasy points per game, priced at $10,700. Early on right now, my pay-up options, I would probably rank it LeBron with no AD, and we're going to get to these guys, so burying the lead a little bit, but LeBron with no AD, then Jokic, and then Giannis. But man, are they all so close. And this is the first time in a while that we don't have Luka also in the same slate as Giannis and Jokic. I'm used to having Luka in that conversation with all those guys. But then after that is when we should start to dive into the value on this team. The value on this team is really going to determine, it's going to be determined on what happens with Monty Morris, but we already have some value because there's no Paul Millsap, and JaMychal Green has really been splitting his minutes with Paul Millsap for the most part. So you've seen JaMychal Green play the second most minutes on this team this year when there is no Will Barton or no Paul Millsap out there. Second most, only behind Monty Morris. So again, Monty Morris's 300 plus minutes would then have to go somewhere else on the entire season if he was to miss. But JaMychal Green in that time is averaging 1.07 fantasy points per minute. That's fantastic. Now we can assume that everything is going to be coming up as well from a minute standpoint. Has over a 20% usage rate, good to see, and a 27% defensive rebounding rate. JaMychal Green looks like one of the best value plays as of right now, probably the best value play on the slate, depending on what happens with our man, Monty Morris. And if Monty Morris is out, you already have no PJ Dozier, no Gary Harris. It starts to become like the RJ Hampton show. If Campazzo is going to be in, it starts to become he sees more run as well. And then we really start to get some value to start to pay up for some double studs. So I would rank Denver right now for me, Jokic, Green, Murray, and then Michael Porter Jr. Let's get into a couple more teams now. We can move over to the Lakers, Memphis, and Milwaukee. With the Lakers, it's LeBron James. Look, he's 10,100. The price point really doesn't change with no Anthony Davis. But if you want to look at rates, LeBron averages only 1.48 fantasy points per minute with no Anthony Davis on the court so far this season. Shooting 58% true shooting percentage, 33% usage rate, a 41% assist percentage, 23% defensive rebounding rate. But here's the thing about that, right? A lot of LeBron's upside when it comes to no Anthony Davis being out there is the ability to get you double-doubles at ease and also the triple-double upside. And although that's already built into the fantasy point per minute upside, it's a smaller sample to the point where he's not getting them enough that extra 3 or 5 points from those types of features is getting you there. So LeBron, for me, he's not massively underpriced. He's probably like a $10,700 player long-term with no Davis. I still think it's a small sample. I still think LeBron, I'll probably be projecting him, especially against Minnesota today, around like a 1.55 producer, not 1.48. That is fantasy points per minute. So LeBron looks very strong right now. He's probably my priority pay-up option. Again, I actually have to add some other things in there, right? Harden's on this slate without KD. So when I was mentioning the Jokic's, the Giannis's, the LeBrons earlier, Harden's obviously in that conversation as well. Right now, for me, if more value opens up, just like yesterday, Harden starts to become the guy that I'm like, okay, I just want to get to the guy who I'm projecting for 60, 61. But on this slate, it's very interesting. The goal is to pay up for at least 2 studs. And on a 6-game slate, we're going to need 2 or 3 pieces of value to do that. Which 2 studs would you pay up for? Right now, for me, it would be LeBron, it would be Jokic. But that can change depending on if we get even more value to keep going up to the tippy top. After that, there's no Anthony Davis. You see Dennis Schroeder with no Anthony Davis play more minutes. He starts to take on around 22% usage rate, averaging about 0.9 fantasy points per minute. The guys who benefit directly are Horton Tucker, THT. He'll play more minutes, probably around 20, 22, so it's a little bit hard to get there, but he's cheap enough. You'll get Kyle Kuzma playing the bigger minutes. Kyle Kuzma averages right now 0.97 fantasy points per minute, a 21% usage rate with no Anthony Davis on the court. But the issue with Kyle Kuzma is that he's priced up to $7K. You need the 35-point game now out of him just to be a decent play for you. So that's a little bit of a concern. That makes him not as much of an interest to me. So I'd rank it LeBron right now, and then it's just kind of shooter, THC. Some people, if they want to get to Harrell, they can. I just don't think the minutes directly come up there. It's not like Anthony Davis was playing center. He was playing power forward. That's why Kuzma and THT see the bump. Dylan Brooks from Memphis. Memphis is an interesting team. Joval's been playing nice minutes. He's been getting a ton of shot attempts. He's still relatively cheap at $7,600. So I like Joval, right? I like Joval if you want to go into that price range where there's not a lot of guys in that mid 7K range. There's some guys from like Toronto, Kyle Lowry. You have Jamal Murray we just talked about. But I do think Joval's interesting, especially if the ownership doesn't come in. But Dylan Brooks at $5,500. Look, Dylan Brooks is a guy who's going to be picking up fouls often. He's not going to be getting you to where you want him to get you to, like 30 or 32 minutes. So far this season, he's averaging 29 minutes per game. And if it wasn't for fouls, he should probably be a guy that's getting you somewhere around 31 minutes a game, 32 minutes a game. $5,500 though is too cheap. 1.65x multiplier in Super Drafts. I like that a lot. The presenting sponsor of the show. Again, you can check him out down below. So I would rank Memphis, Dylan Brooks, Joval, Anderson, and then Grayson Allen. Again, he came back down to earth. He didn't take as many shots. He didn't make as many shots. So he only scored like 20-something points. But there's still no Bane. There's still no Melton out there. Allen's going to continue to play 28 to 30 plus minutes. Again, he's not a priority, but there's not that many 4K options on the slate right now. He would be my fourth interest on this team. Dylan Brooks right now leading Memphis in minutes this year, staying healthy, playing 640 minutes is about 20 more than anybody else on the slate. You're getting right now 0.93 fantasy points per minute out of him. That's fine for the price point, right? If he was like 6,000, I'd stay away. But at 5,500, if he goes out there and gets you a 30-point game, it's looking really good on DraftKings or quality on this slate where the mid-range is, again, not as secure, especially in that lower 4 and 5K lower mid-range. And then also on Superdraft, it starts to look really, really good. It starts to look really good if he starts to put up around 30 DraftKings points, which converts over Superdraft types of projections, and then the multiplier. It starts to look really nice for him. Dylan Brooks on the year, other ways that he can get you there is mainly through the assist percentage. It sits at around 15% right now. So that's trying to target a buy low spot. We'll try and target another buy low spot in New Orleans on a guy who might not look quote unquote sexy, but again, the price point is making it appealing. Giannis is Giannis right now. Giannis is somebody who's on fire. He's on an absolute tear. He's getting the big ass minutes, right, in games that are staying close. Now he gets a matchup against Toronto, who's somebody that they can see in the postseason, and Giannis is, I assume yet again, going to play these bigger minutes. Giannis over the last couple of games, 38, 39, and 36 minutes, 71, 65, and 75 fantasy points. Not only are you getting the large shot attempts because he's playing more minutes, you're getting everything else to spike. You got the triple-double last time out. You got 15 rebounds out the game before that. 23 shot attempts the game before that, right? And he ended up scoring 47 real-life points. This has been the best three-game stretch that we've seen out of Giannis, I mean, probably since like the beginning of last year. So Giannis is looking good, but if the minutes start to go back down to 32, 33, it's not a concern. It just starts to become difficult if LeBron James plays 37 today and Harden plays 38 or 39 and Jokic plays 38, right? Because then you're comparing guys at similar point per minute productions or just overall skill levels, and they're not playing, or Giannis is not playing as many minutes as them. But with this closer matchup, yeah, Giannis is definitely in play. Again, the slate is going to come down to which two studs do you get right. Now, if more value opens up throughout the day, maybe you can get up to 3 of them. I don't think that will be the case for this 10K plus range, but which two studs do you get right? Again, early on right now, it's LeBron and Jokic for me, but I would be very, very interested in getting up to Harden. I'd be very interested in getting up to Giannis if we find that extra money. The reason why LeBron is appealing is because he's cheaper relative to the rest, 10,700 or 10,100 as it stands right now. Then the final 3 teams as we close out the slate, we can go to Karl-Anthony Towns in Minnesota. I'll be honest, Minnesota's not that appealing to me today. In Karl-Anthony Towns range, I think that he's going to come in lower owned because, look, he's getting the minutes very quietly. He's playing really great. He's playing fine. He's $9,000 and he's scoring 45 fantasy points, right? He's just 1 rebound away from double-doubles. The assist percentage needs to come up a little bit. We need to see that coming up. Playing around a bunch of other guys on the team who aren't that efficient and just aren't that good probably is going to hurt your assist potential and your ability to convert assist percentage into actual assists. And then in this price range, just give me Kyrie, who will definitely be probably double the ownership. So if you want to pivot there, sure, but give me Kyrie on face value for, let's just say, $200 less than Karl-Anthony Towns. Outside of that, I don't want any of these other guys. Anthony Davis is priced appropriately. All these other guys in Minnesota, they play like 12 bodies and they all just split like 20 or 22 minutes, right? Josh Okogie's, Jordan McLaughlin's, all these guys off the bench. Jared Culver's, right? Jared Culver's going to be out today, but all these guys just split some minutes. So Malik Beasley at $7,300 looks appealing, but I'd rather go to Jamal Murray, right? At $100 less. I'd rather get to some other options like a Joval in that price range. So Beasley stands out after Karl-Anthony Towns, but Minnesota is almost a pass for me. The reason I like Towns even more is there's no Anthony Davis down there by the basket. So, I mean, he's just going to have his way with Kyle Kuzma. He's going to have his way with the body of Marc Gasol for 18 minutes. He's going to have his way with Harrell. So that's what's really appealing there is that the matchup, I don't want to overweight the matchup, but the matchup down low is definitely going to bump him up more than I think most people's projections will today, because I don't think people properly project in what the matchups and the rates are going to be, especially when other star players that are good on defense like Davis are out. Final 2 teams here. Let's go over to New Orleans today, where it's a buy low spot on Mr. Eric Bledsoe. We haven't seen this cheap of a price point on Eric Bledsoe in a very long time. And look, earlier this season, we were seeing it every single game because the guy wasn't playing minutes and the guy wasn't going out there and doing anything. But now he's playing minutes and he's just not doing anything, but he's going to have these games, right? He's been playing 31, 32. Then there was a blowout. Then there was a blowout. 31, 27, 29, 36, 34, 29 minutes, right? So when there's not a blowout, he's going to play around 30 minutes. He's got his minutes per game up to 29.3 so far in the season. He's not great when everybody's out there. He's going to average like 0.85 fantasy points per minute some games, but now he's cheap enough. Now he's very similar to Dylan Brooks, where he's cheap cheaper than Dylan Brooks on DraftKings. He has that 1.65x multiplier over on SuperDraft. You just saw it a game ago. He shot 5 of 7, and when he's going to shoot 70%, he'll get you there. But this past game, shoots 9 times, only shoots 1 of 9, 11% overall. So yeah, when you shoot 11%, you're not going to get us there. We need Eric Bledsoe real life to be scoring like 12 to 15 points for him to get us there. But that's definitely in his bag. And at $5,200, it can start to be 12 and you can get there depending on what he does from the assist percentage. So Bledsoe on a slate where we're lacking that 4 and 5K value right now stands out to me as a buy low option. Again, we haven't seen this price in a while, but he's still getting the minutes. He's just highly inefficient. So that's the buy low spot on Bledsoe. And then after that, probably one of the best plays on the slate, if not the best play on the slate right now. I know you have Kyrie at $9,100 against Phoenix. That looks good. Again, depending on when you're watching this, news might have changed, and I will update that based on my projections. Link down below. Patreon projections, NBA tools, rankings, value rankings, super draft. We have tools for MMA, PJ, potentially some other sports coming as well. You can check all that out down below. Patreon.com/Sal_Vetri_. But give me Hamidou Diallo, who's coming off a game where he shot 18%, even in games where he shoots 38 or 40%. He's still going for 40 plus points because of how insane he is. 11 plus rebounds in 3 out of the last 4 games. How active he is from a guard standpoint, from rebounding, from assist percentage. So Diallo's price point coming down. His super draft multiplier 1.45x. Matchup against Portland. All of this is just lining up for a smash spot as long as the game stays close for Diallo, who's going to average above 1.15 fantasy points per minute with no SGA on the court, who should see his minutes spike back up to, if the game stays close and he's out of foul trouble, 35, 36 minutes. In this one, Diallo is way too cheap. Diallo is arguably on this slate, like he should be 7,400 in my opinion, and that's when I would go, okay, that's starting to look better. I mean, he's going to project out for me for high 30s, so realistically, he should be like $1,000 more. So Diallo's going to look really good. After that, just play around with whoever starts. If you want to get to Horford at 7K flat, that is appealing to me, and that is fine. I'd prefer Diallo in that price range on his own team, but Horford is still fine to me. The assist percentage is what's coming up for Horford right now. With no SGA, no Theo Maledon on the court, you've been getting these rebounds for Horford, right? But SGA will take away from those, but that's kind of being filled by Diallo. But the fact that they don't have a George Hill out there who sees a 20+% assist percentage, the fact that they don't have an SGA out there, or even now a Theo Maledon, you're getting Horford's assist percentage to start to rise up pretty quickly. He's averaging a 30% assist percentage just with SGA off the court this season in 191 minutes. And that's only going to go higher when there's no George Hill and no Theo Maledon and no other capable guards to pick up assists. You know the rebounding rate's going to be there above 20%. His usage rate is now spiking above 25%. So Horford at 7K might be sticker shock to you because now he's hit that 7, that first digit being a 7, but he's still firmly in play, especially in a range where outside of Diallo at 6,700, that 7K range is somewhat hollow on today's slate. The only other option really, and also to finish up on OKC, the 7K range has a $7,400 Kyle Lowry. That's a guy that I like in that range. You can see he's the last guy right here to finish up the slate. And then I would go Fred VanVleet and Siakam. Outside of that, no real interest unless news changes on the Toronto guys. I mean, Lowry, he's just coming up $100. He's going to average 1.06, 1.07 fantasy points per minute and play 35, 36 minutes. So it's pretty standard. Like, there's not much to say about these big three in Toronto. It's basically just a pricing play versus an ownership play. If Lowry, I assume he comes in the highest owned, well, then I'll just pivot over to Fred VanVleet if I have the money. But Lowry right now looks like the best option in Toronto. He might even be the best option in that entire game. Granted, Giannis is in that game, but factoring in the price points. But to close the door on OKC, it's Diallo for me. Then it's probably Horford. But then after that, who's starting? Dort's going to play bigger minutes, but his price point's up. He's still okay because we don't have much value. Jackson's price point is still down, and he's playing bigger minutes and starting as of late and looking good. So I'm fine to get to Justin Jackson. But keep an eye on who's starting. If Roby at 4K flat enters that lineup, bad taste in our mouth still from Roby being scratched that one game. But at 4K, if he starts, he's probably going to play 27, 28 plus minutes, and then that's where he starts to look appealing as an over fantasy point per minute producer so far this season. So thank you for tuning into the 6-game slate after a hectic slate last night. What is on the horizon for today, you might be asking? Well, we will be live at 4 p.m. East Coast time to help you yet again with this slate. Actually, I mean, honestly, we can probably even go live later. So you know what? Let's try this out today. Let's go live at 4:30 p.m. East Coast time until 5:30 p.m. So we'll go live for an hour, 4:30 p.m. East Coast time to 5:30 p.m. East Coast time, and then we'll be live again. Yes, at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to break down the lock, the closing bell on Jock Market on this channel. So lots to be talking about in the NBA today. Outside of that, we had a golf video go up yesterday for the biggest event so far in the year. I mean, honestly, one of the biggest events on the year, the Genesis Open. So be sure to check that out. That's going to be starting on Thursday. And then tomorrow we'll have more content in the NBA space. We'll have a live stream at 12:30 East Coast time for golf as well. I'll be going live with Dylan Bird on this channel. It's going to be Q&A based, so bring your questions. Thursday, more NBA. Thursday, MMA. And then Friday, NASCAR, folks. Yeah, NASCAR's back again and Chris Pinell is back. And we'll also be breaking down NBA along with that NASCAR, and then you'll have that fight information. So lots of stuff coming out on the channel. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell so you get notified of when this stuff is coming out. So hey, you might get notified and say, I don't want to watch that video right now, I'll watch it later. Or you might get notified and say, hey, I mean, I'm on the bus right now, I'm going to work, or I'm commuting, whatever I'm doing, I'm at the gym, yeah, I'll listen to this, right? So just gives you that little nudge, and it really, really helps the channel. It's probably how you found this channel, by either liking, subscribing, or notifying somebody else doing that. So thank you, do those things. Support the sponsor of the show, Super Draft. We got it on the shirt right now. Down below, promo code SAL, get you that lovely free money bonus up up to 500. Yes, $500 Rooskies. It's linked down below in the description. Again, my name's Sal. It's a knowledge game from me. Any updates will be had on my Patreon projections depending on the news that comes out. The projections will be out shortly on a somewhat smaller slate, a 6-game slate. Then we can talk about them later tonight at 4:30 p.m. East Coast time. Appreciate you all in advance. You all rock, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Peace out, gang. Enjoy the rest of your day.